Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
You know what's funny about your brother? Your brother talks more shit than anybody else on the planet. They're trying to fucking sue people when people talk. There's people out there saying they're fake fights.
Things are getting messy again around Jake Paul, and this time it feels heavier than the usual online noise. The internet is buzzing with fresh accusations, claiming that some of Jake's biggest fights were allegedly planned in advance, including the massive Netflix showdown with Anthony Joshua.
FBI agents have raided the Southern California home of YouTube star Jake Paul. Federal officials say the search was part of an investigation. Wendy Birch is in Calabasas with what we're learning tonight.
Sky 5 was overhead this morning as federal agents entered Jake Paul's Calabasas home located in this gated community off of Mulholland Highway.
You know, for me, in my opinion, I think it's scripted a little bit because, you know, of the weight difference, and, you know, Joshua's a former, you know, champion. And also, you know, he's current, he's active, you know what I mean?
That was not a boxing match. Jake Paul had a very healthy fear for his life while he was in there. He was running away. He was trying to get distance. Then he was trying to step in to win this contest. And then he's trying to get out of the way so that he doesn't get hurt.
To be clear, none of this has been proven, but the rumors have spread fast, with some corners of social media even throwing around wild claims about legal trouble involving Jake and his brother.
You know, our lawyers are actively going after a number of people. One who claims to be a lawyer himself online. I don't remember the name or the handle, but it was something that had like 200,000 likes. And basically this post said there was an agreement for AJ not to knock out Jake, but AJ disregarded the agreement and decided to not get his payday, but knock out Jake Paul. So it's pretty astonishing what people say.
Promoters and boxing officials have already pushed back hard, reminding everyone that fixing professional fights would bring serious legal consequences, not viral clips. Still, the damage isn't coming from courts right now. It's coming from public trust. The skepticism around Jake's legitimacy has reached a new level, and it's not helped by his past controversies, including that widely reported FBI raid years ago.
Jake Paul's California mansion has been raided by the FBI, multiple news organizations report. You can see in this aerial footage agents in uniform outside his home in Calabasas.
I get so many people can't speak. Yeah, but it's obviously scripted, isn't it? I'm like, no. One, that's illegal. I mean, this is a professional contest. Two, we would never sign up to anything that's going to make AJ look bad or devalue him, lose rounds, go loads of rounds.
Do you think there's any world in which AJ pulls back, though?
No, absolutely. He couldn't do that as a fighter. He would be incapable of going in there and holding.
Whether fair or not, the conversation has shifted from, is Jake improving, to, can people still believe what they're watching? And that's dangerous territory for a fighter whose entire rise depends on attention and credibility. Right now, the question isn't just about one fight or one rumor. It's whether this cloud finally slows down or completely derails one of the strangest and most talked about runs boxing has ever seen.
It's a Netflix series. You can watch it and you can go, well, I get the gist of it. Why have you got to turn it into 10 episodes? Because I'm dying with boredom after episode.
Are you telling me that Netflix probably emphasised, listen guys, keep this as long as you can?
Anthony Joshua didn't step, irrespective. I sat to all these guys, whether it be Spencer or Paul Smith, talking about the fact that Jake Paul couldn't run, didn't have the footwork to be able to move around the ring and get away from Anthony Joshua. And irrespective of the fact that he proved he can run, I mean, we knew he could run because he's got legs. But the fact of the matter is, Anthony Joshua, as an elite fighter, and all this ring rust cobblers, he's not the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz. He was fighting against a YouTuber who hasn't got any level about him. So with due respect to the situation, Anthony Joshua didn't throw any meaningful punches. Even the punch that he knocked him out was an arm punch. And you look at the reality and you think to yourself, Anthony Joshua knew what he was in with. He's been broken into America now as a media star alongside being a boxer. Netflix have got some wonderful content, and Jake Paul runs around doing what Jake Paul does. So everybody wins, and only the people that don't win are the people that go, well, look at it. And even the people that think Anthony Joshua is a busted flush now go, well, that proves the point. Well, maybe it gets him a fight against Fabio Wardley, because maybe it lures Fabio Wardley into the thinking that actually I'll have this version of Anthony Joshua, and then the real version of Anthony Joshua emerges. The bottom line is you take nothing from...
For a long time now, plenty of boxing analysts, former fighters, and even promoters have been side-eyeing Jake Paul well before any of these latest rumors ever hit the internet. This isn't some sudden pile-on. This skepticism has been building for years. Critics point to patterns they say don't sit right. Opponents picked at the perfect moment when mileage was already on the clock. Fights that unfold at a strangely careful pace. knockdowns that arrive late and right on cue, and whispers about contracts with limits that feel more like guardrails than agreements.
Jake lost to Tommy Fury, and that's the one everyone keeps on. Do you think he's improved much since Tommy Fury?
Yeah, but do I think he's improved enough to make competitive? Unless I close my eyes and Josh is completely shot to bits, no.
Yeah, and so is the potential that Jake Paul, like, I know you keep saying no, I know you're right, but is there a world in which you see Jake Paul
come on, stop.
landing a shot and doing that?
Of course he can land a shot.
No, landing a shot and doing something.
No. As soon as he feels the first jab, he's going to be like, what the fuck have I signed up to?
Yeah, lovely. Well, at least you're on the same page as me.
He's just going to touch him the first time. But the first jab, he's going to go, what the fuck was
just
that?
It, mate, yeah.
It's a pair of 10-ounce grandson. Could you imagine when it lands?
10 ounce. That's what we wore. You're a big lump anyway.
A jab with 10-ounce gloves on hurts.
Yeah,
and that first jab lands, and as sharp as AJ will be.
To them, it hasn't looked like the natural chaos of boxing. It looked calculated, polished, and almost too neat. And that's the problem. Boxing fans are wired to accept brutal randomness, not choreography. Therefore, when enough people across the sport start saying the same thing independently, the conversation shifts. It stops being hate and starts sounding like doubt. And once doubt creeps in, it doesn't matter how many wins are on paper because fans begin wondering whether the climb was built on grit or carefully controlled circumstances.
Here's a fun fact. If I ever come across you, bum, I'm knocking you dead spark out. I ain't a YouTuber or a man half your size. I am him. The man. You're a classless loser. Coming off a 15 months knockout defeat to a local lad. Imagine if someone from Morecambe knocked me out. You big bum, useless tosser. Get up, and I can't wait if Jake Paul knocks your spark out, you big bum. Get up.
And this is where the conversation smoothly shifts from internet conspiracy mode into something a lot more grounded. Because listening to this breakdown, I'm honestly nodding along more than rolling my eyes. After all the scripted noise around Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua, this take actually feels like someone slowing the tape down and watching what really happened. I agree with the core point here. This didn't look rigged. It looked awkward, risky, and uncomfortable in a way only real fights usually are. AJ wasn't rushing because he couldn't afford to. One reckless mistake in boxing would have been a global meme forever. Meanwhile, Jake didn't fight like a boxer. He fought like a man trying to survive. Circling, clinching, shooting in, killing rhythm, basically turning the ring into a fire drill. Was it pretty?
Paul did stuff that, in my opinion, should have gotten him to lose a point or some kind of warning. He was doing double leg takedowns the entire fight. He wasn't throwing punches, he was running and circling, and then the second Anthony Joshua got close to him, he would shoot in on him with a double leg. Okay, now, sure, that works for an MMA fight. It was a nice example of how you can get by a boxer's punches numerous times. It also exhausted him. He must have shot in at least, no joke, 30 or 35 times in that fight, which is just absurd. And again, I think that's what threw off the pacing of the fight and made Anthony Joshua look a little bit awkward in the early rounds because he was keeping distance. He didn't want to get caught with that overhand right. And then as he stepped in, every time he closed the gap, Jake Paul would just shoot in and get into tight range, like clinch range. And very good strategy for self-defense weapons.
And that's why the pacing felt weird. Not because of a script, but because Joshua was dealing with chaos instead of clean boxing exchanges. The part that surprised even me was Jake's durability. You can joke about influencer boxing all day, but taking clean heavyweight shots late and still getting up says something about his chin and his stubbornness. At the same time, let's not rewrite history. This wasn't high-level boxing from Jake. It was awkward survival mixed with panic management. AJ adjusted, stayed patient, let fatigue do the talking, and once the opening stayed open, the fight ended exactly how it should have. The real takeaway for me isn't rigged or carried. It's that pressure that makes fights messy, expectations warp reality, and boxing fans sometimes confuse fast knockouts with proof of greatness. Joshua won clean, Jake proved toughness, and the internet proved it still doesn't understand how uncomfortable real fights can look when ego, size, and risk all collide at once.
All right, so believe it or not, I do not think that this fight was rigged. I think what happened was that, number one, Anthony Joshua had a lot to lose. If he got reckless and he got caught and KO'd in the early rounds, that would have been the most embarrassing upset in all of boxing history. Now, it's easy to sit on a couch and watch him and say, well, he still should have done it. But no, you're going to be more defensive, you're going to get a read, and you're going to try and understand how the guy's moving. Now, this is where I could see why it was difficult in the early rounds for Anthony Joshua. JakePaul did not fight like a boxer.
And this is where the tone flips from analysis into straight-up boxing honesty. Because once Duke McKenzie starts talking, the sugarcoating is officially over. I'm listening to this and thinking, yeah, this is what happens when a Real fighter watches a survival mission dressed up as a fight. Duke isn't confused by why it took 6 rounds. He explains it perfectly. You can't knock someone out quickly if they refuse to cooperate. And JakePaul came in there with one goal only: don't get caught clean. The Roadrunner comparison is hilarious, but accurate, because this wasn't boxing rhythm. This was cardio panic mixed with clinching and floor drops. And Duke calling the performance pathetic isn't about hate, it's about expectation. You talked big, you beat your chest, you sold the fight as competitive, and then you spent 6 rounds trying to avoid contact like a fly dodging a newspaper. From Duke's perspective, that's not clever, that's survival mode. And there's a big difference. The huge ring, the running, the tying up, all of it explains why the finish took time, but none of it excuses the gap in levels. When he says AJ wasn't threatened for a single second, that's not exaggeration. That's a former champ reading danger accurately.